A few years ago, these women could never have dreamt that their lives would be changed by a clean energy project, or that they would be touched by a world event that was being shown on television stations around the globe. While their small children were playing soccer in the streets of their village in the Limpopo province of South Africa, football fans all over the world sat glued to their screens watching the 2006 FIFA World Cup in Germany. Next to this village in rural South Africa is a company that provides work to many of the people in that community. Letaba Citrus Processors, or LCP as it is locally called, is one of the largest citrus processing plants in South Africa. 4 organizations from 4 different countries worked together to connect FIFA and the German Organization Committee of the World Cup with a project at LCP in South Africa. What brought everyone together is the threat of climate change and the steps that are being taken to implement measures reducing the amount of carbon or CO2 emissions into the atmosphere. FIFA and the German Organization Committee of the Football World Cup in 2006 decided to make the event the greenest World Cup ever, and with the help of the Institute for Applied Ecology developed an environmental program called Green Goal. They wanted to make the football event carbon neutral.
Making an event carbon neutral is not an easy thing. It's a rather complex undertaking. So FIFA was looking for partners to concretely implement the carbon neutrality of the Football World Cup.
According to SASCHA, the organizers of the 2006 FIFA World Cup were well aware that the 2010 World Cup would be in South Africa, and they specified that one of the carbon offset programs should therefore be developed in that region. But what does carbon offsetting and carbon neutrality mean?
It works the following way, that individuals or companies that want to compensate their carbon footprint that they might not be able to reduce immediately, they buy carbon credits from us, and we invest the money in projects in emerging markets to reduce the carbon there.
ROLF JEKER further explained that an event or company can be carbon neutral if they sponsor projects in developing countries that will reduce the same amount of carbon or CO2 emissions that will be released into the air by the event or the company itself. This is possible by replacing fossil fuels with renewable energies and by promoting energy-efficient technologies. But there are strict scientific measures that have to be taken before any project is accepted and financed by the carbon credit system. Together with the carbon asset management company First Climate, the Institute for Applied Ecology identified a range of new project opportunities in South Africa that could qualify to obtain carbon finance in turn for reducing carbon emissions. Their solution was to team up with the non-profit foundation myclimate, a Swiss-based offset provider with contacts in South Africa. myclimate introduced them to Biotherm Energy, a South African company that was already involved in the kind of alternative energy projects that First Climate was interested in.
Biotherm, as a developer of cleaner and renewable energy projects, had a portfolio of projects of which this was one. We found out about the project through the steam team that serviced the boilers at Letaba and told us that they thought there was an opportunity.
At Letaba Citrus Processors, they mainly produce concentrated fruit juices from the citrus they grow on the farms. After the fruit is processed, they are left with a lot of citrus waste. The leftover waste, or peels, are then dried in special dryers and are sold as cattle feed. LCP uses coal to fuel both the boilers and the peel dryers in their processing plant. With the help of Biotherm, they discovered an ingenious solution that could help them to reduce their CO2 emissions. There are many sawmills in the area around Letaba's citrus farms. As a result, there are literally mountains of sawdust available to LCP to burn as biomass in their boilers instead of coal. But because the old boilers and peel dryers at Letaba were coal-based and would not run on biomass, they needed special boilers and ovens for their processing plant that were designed for biomass. Such a switch from coal-burning boilers and ovens to ones that can burn biomass is also a costly process because it involves the transfer of specialized technology. Biotherm then started to pursue the rigorous accreditation process for carbon credits in order to deliver the carbon credits to First Climate via the myclimate Foundation. First Climate would make the finance from the World Cup's environmental program available. The World Cup's environmental sponsors would ultimately contribute the extra funds needed to enable a clean energy project at Letaba Citrus Processors.
We have a high quality in the projects that we select. We follow the gold standard, which is the standard that you might have for the normal Kyoto project, but with a much higher component on social and environmental effects.
According to Biotherm, because the project was the first of its kind in South Africa, it had to be developed from scratch. It was a challenging but rewarding process. This carbon credit claim is now being validated by the auditors and will be registered during 2010. As a result, the actual building of the project only started in 2010, just in time for the FIFA World Cup in South Africa. The project was divided into two parts, and the STEAM team, a company from Zimbabwe, is responsible for all building and installation. In the first phase, they are installing the ovens for the peel dryers and building the silos in which the sawdust will be stored. If all goes according to plan, the second phase will be implemented by changing the coal-burning boilers to ones that burn biomass a year later.
The first gain for LCP is that we replace our equipment with fuel or more fuel-efficient equipment. There's quite a few other spin-offs. For the workers, there's a workers' trust being erected. That workers' trust will be funded through some of the income that the project will generate, improving the housing facilities and improving the education opportunities.
Other spin-offs, apart from the benefit to the workers and community around Letaba, according to ANDRIES, is that there will be less pollution from coal on the factory site. This will even affect the roofs of the buildings, that will not have to be replaced so often, thanks to the reduced pollution. And since they don't have to bring in coal from 400 kilometers away, they also save diesel and other transport costs.
In the end, the carbon credits having been taken into account, this will be a cheaper solution than it would have been staying on coal. Without the carbon credits, that wouldn't have been the case, and that just demonstrates how the carbon credits can actually leverage the cleaner solution as opposed to staying on the dirty solution.
At the end of the day, it's really about an additional cash flow that can be used to finance projects that is coming from these emission reduction credits.
Now that it has been proven it can be done in Southern Africa, all the parties involved in this project have expressed the hope that more companies will follow the example of Letaba citrus processors. Because with projects such as these, everyone wins.